never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. As the embodied self continuously passes in this body from childhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. As a man casts off his worn-out clothes and takes on other new ones, so does the embodied self cast off its worn-out bodies and enter new ones.
A fundamental belief shared amongst Hindus is reincarnation, the view that life is a cycle of birth, death and rebirth. Propelling this cycle of reincarnation onwards is a universal principle known as karma, the law of cause and effect. According to this principle, every action has a reaction, and the quality of our next incarnation on the wheel of life is dependent on the quality of our karma in this life. Many Hindus celebrate the various stages of their life and attempt to generate good karma, so that their rebirth will be a favourable one, and their daily worship of various gods and goddesses offers inspiration and direction on this journey through life. Some, however, look more philosophically at reincarnation and are concerned with freeing themselves from this cycle of rebirth altogether. According to the influential Vedanta school of Hinduism, our ordinary everyday lives are dominated by egoism, and as such we're ignorant about our true self, slaves to an ego-centered illusion that chains us to the relentless cycle of reincarnation. Recognizing that egoism and attachment to the world only chain it to the wheel of samsara, the cycle of birth, death and reincarnation, an aspiring soul through spiritual practice may seek higher forms of consciousness with the aim of freeing itself from this wheel of repeated incarnations. While each one of us possesses an inner, true and essentially indestructible self or soul, which, once liberated from delusion and desire, can become reunited with Brahman, the universal source and essence of everything.
The rivers in the east flow eastward. The rivers in the west flow westwards, and all enter into the sea. And as these rivers, when they are united with the sea, do not know whether they are this or that river, likewise all creatures, when they have come back from Brahma, know not whence they came. And all beings have their self in Brahma alone. He is the truth. Brahma is the subtle essence of all, including our very subtlest essence, the self of this whole universe. That is the real, that is the true self. You are that.
The founder of Buddhism, Siddhartha Gautama, the awakened or the enlightened one, observed that life was full of suffering and imperfection. But why can life be so difficult? Looking more deeply at existence, he realized that this suffering comes from the fact that we have desires and form attachments. Yet, according to the Buddha, we can experience inner peace when we walk the right path and learn to free ourselves from these desires. In contrast to Hinduism, Buddhism teaches that there is no permanent or static, unchanging self, and we have no lasting unity. Instead, we're composed of combinations of constantly changing elements or aggregates, like our body, our feelings, our thoughts, and our perceptions. Upon death, these aggregates disintegrate. However, some capacity for awareness survives, causing a new birth to arise, often compared to the lighting of successive candles, whereby each flame is connected to the one that came before, but is neither identical to nor entirely different from it. According to Buddhists, because of our attachment to desire, we're forever chained to the wheel of rebirth. But by meditation, practicing wisdom, and acting ethically, we can free ourselves from delusion and become enlightened.
When a man is stimulated by his own thoughts and full of desire, his craving increases. He is making the bonds of rebirth even stronger. But he who takes pleasure in stilling his thoughts and remaining recollected will make an end of craving and snap the bonds of rebirth. His aim is accomplished. He is without fear, rid of craving, and without stain. He has removed the arrows of changing existence.
While all Buddhist traditions accept rebirth, there is no unified view about precisely how events unfold after death. However, within Tibetan Buddhism, instructions intended to guide consciousness during and after death are read aloud to the dying person.
That which is called death has now come. You are departing from this world. But you are not the only one. Death cometh to all. Do not cling in fondness and weakness to this life. You will gain nothing more than wandering in the realm of rebirth. When your body and mind were separating, you must have experienced a glimpse of the pure truth, subtle, sparkling, dazzling, and radiantly awesome. Be not daunted thereby, nor terrified, nor awed. That is the radiance of thine own true nature. Recognize it.
Crucial in the process of dying for many Buddhists is one's state of mind at the time of death, because this will partly determine the situation into which one will be reborn. If a mind is calm and positive, this will help create a happy rebirth. But if it's fearful or full of desire, this may predispose it to an unhappy rebirth. Buddhists therefore emphasize that the time to prepare for death is now. By learning to control our mind now, we'll have a calm mind at the time of our death and be free from fear or craving. In effect, our whole life is seen as a preparation for death. And it's said that the mark of a spiritual practitioner is to have no regrets at the time of death. While many people see reincarnation and rebirth as accounting for the apparent inequalities of life, others react strongly to the idea that everyone gets their just deserts. Saying this view proposes we ignore the poor and the disadvantaged, as their hardships result from actions committed in previous incarnations. Critics also find it unreasonable to think that every single act committed is stored at the end of a lifetime, held in abeyance in a non-physical form between incarnations, and then implanted in an embryo in preparation for a new life. They ask, how can a packet of personality traits leap from a dying person into limbo and thence to this newly conceived embryo when consciousness itself is inextricably connected to the structures of the brain, and when the brain dies, we die. Other critics wonder, on the basis of the massive rise in the human population over recent centuries, where, if no new souls have been created, do the souls of today's 7 billion earthlings all come from? However, some people, particularly those under hypnosis and children, claim to have memories of past lives and previous incarnations. While skeptics maintain such claims are merely buried early memories or overactive imaginations, some scientists take them seriously. Ian Stevenson, a Canadian professor of psychiatry, spent 40 years travelling the world documenting around 3,000 case studies of young children who appeared to remember precise details about the people they once were in past lives and the places and people they knew. Stevenson researched and identified the deceased person's life, which, more often than not, tallied with that of the child's memory. As a doctor, Stevenson had always been interested in why certain phobias or unusual abilities couldn't be explained away by either heredity or the environment, and over time thought some form of personality or memory transfer might provide a third type of explanation. While careful not to commit himself fully to the position of accepting reincarnation, he felt these studies couldn't be explained away either by environmental factors or by heredity. One such case involved an Indian girl named Shanti Devi. Shanti Devi was an unhappy little girl. At the age of 4, the reason for her unhappiness became clear when she started describing a former life. She said she'd been a woman named Lugdi who lived in a village some 125 miles away from her home in New Delhi. She claimed that having given birth to a baby son, she died 10 days later. Frustrated, her parents took her to the village she named, where, to their astonishment, they found that a woman called Lugdi had once lived. From a crowded room, the 4-year-old not only correctly identified her former husband, but also her son and her earlier parents. She moved about the village with familiarity, locating her previous house, describing the position of the furniture, even showing a spot on the earth floor where she had buried 150 rupees. Her past life husband confirmed that he dug up the money years ago. A committee organised by Mahatma Gandhi was set up to investigate the child's claims and concluded that hers was a proven evidence of reincarnation. Shanti never married and died in 1987, but to this day her case has never been explained and still stands as seemingly remarkable evidence for the possibility of reincarnation. Shortly before his own death in 2007, Dr. Stevenson set a secret combination code in a safe in his college, telling his colleagues he'd try and communicate the code to them from his next life. So far, the safe remains shut.